I'm Alan, and this is Daddy.
Today we're in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia to talk about the famous October 1859 raid by abolitionist John Brown. The town is named for Robert Harpers, who settled here... What?
Robert Harper, not Harpers. There's no S at the end.
Yes, there is. There's an S. It's Harpers Ferry.
That's possessive. The town was named after Robert Harper's ferry service that crossed the Potomac.
The name of the town doesn't have an apostrophe in it. When you look at the names of the town,
that's because the United States Board of Geographic Names doesn't allow apostrophes.
Who?
The United States Board of Geographic Names. It's part of the Department of the Interior. For the sake of consistency, they're the official geographic namers of the United States government.
Wait, the government has official namers?
Yes.
And they have some sort of odd problem with apostrophes?
It's not really a problem, they just don't use them. Look at Tyson's Corner or Pike's Peak.
What about Martha's Vineyard?
They made an exception. Can we get back to John Brown's raid?
Yes, John Brown's raid. Browns with an apostrophe, Brown's raid.
Yes. John Brown was a fierce abolitionist. Brown led a small militia in the bloody Kansas border wars. At stake was whether Kansas would be a free state or a slave state. Brown felt the Free Soilers lacked resolve and weren't aggressive enough.
Brown and his men hacked 5 people to death with broadswords, not for owning slaves, mind you, but merely because they were pro-slavery.
But Brown didn't stop there. He believed that he was chosen by God to be the instrument of his wrath.
A fury that culminated here in Harpers Ferry, where Brown and a small group of rabid abolitionists raided the United States Armory in an attempt to arm the slaves and create an uprising.
This was 1859, before the Civil War. It would be more than a year later before the South would secede.
This was huge, by the way. Brown and his men were trying to steal weapons from the United States government to start an insurrection. I mean, can you imagine what would happen if somebody did that today?
It's a little...
crazy, is what it is.
At the time, the government hadn't considered the possibility of this happening, and the armory was lightly guarded. Brown and 21 other men quickly took over the entire town of Harpers Ferry.
Taking over the town was one thing, of course, but then what do you do?
The plan was that while Brown held Harpers Ferry with 18 men, 3 others would persuade nearby slaves to flee their captors and join the revolution. Brown believed that the word would spread quickly and ignite a slave uprising.
Brown took a number of Harpers Ferryans. He took a bunch of people hostage, and then he waited.
Unfortunately, the slaves didn't react as Brown hoped. They were mostly just confused and suspicious of white people trying to help them out.
Soon, the local citizens, 12 militias, and eventually the U.S. Marines led by Colonel Robert E. Lee would arrive to liberate Harpers Ferry.
Ultimately, Ultimately, Brown was tried and convicted of treason against the Commonwealth of Virginia, multiple first-degree murders, and inciting an insurrection among Virginia slaves. He was hanged on December 2nd, 1859.
His body was taken back to his home near Lake Placid, New York, and today, John Brown's body lies a-moldering in the grave.
You're not going to sing, are you?
Brown's body lies a-moldering in the grave. His soul goes marching on.
Are you quite finished?
Yes, for the time being, but did you notice that it's John Brown's body? It has an apostrophe in it. He owns his body. Well, he used to own his body until his soul went marching on, and now it's sort of, you know, it's just there. But of course.
Brown had no regrets and thought of himself as a martyr to the cause. He believed that his death was God's will.
The aftermath of this was, well, it was the Civil War. Was he a martyr? The most strident abolitionists would certainly see it that way.
And of course, the pro-slavery folks pointed to him as evidence that the abolitionists were dangerous anarchists determined to destroy the country.
I think it would be fair to say that the incident further divided an already divided country. Perhaps that was necessary. Perhaps the Civil War was inevitable, with or without the raid on Harpers Ferry.
Some would argue that sometimes blood has to be shed for a just cause.
I would argue that being on the right side of an issue doesn't justify terrorism or vigilantism. Destroying property and killing people is a poor way to protest because the opposing side is likely to dismiss you as a fanatic. It's a significantly slower process, but I think it's preferable to negotiate through conflicts.
Well, if you want to learn more, you can visit the National Park Service channel, or better yet, get out to a national park.
Yes, we love the National Park Service. In fact, we love the entire Department of the Interior, including the Board of Geographic Names. So, get out to the parks and spend a little time with your family, enjoy nature, and learn a little bit more about history.
And don't forget to subscribe to us and like us, pin us, or tweet us.
And we really do appreciate it.
Do you really think he was insane?
It's possible. Of course, it's possible he just didn't get hugged enough as a child.
Yes,
he just needs more hugs.
If you don't get off of me, I will riot. There will be chaos in the streets. I will tear down